Okay, so we are starting. We are on module 22, sorry, which is endpoint security. So I think this week we'll be done with all the lectures. Then come next week, we'll be done with all the labs. Okay. So the module objective, of course, is to explain how malware analysis websites generate a malware analysis report. So here we're talking about endpoint protection. How do we protect the end devices, which are computers, PCs anyway, laptops, servers? How do we protect them? So the first section is anti-malware protection. Okay. So of course, endpoints can be defined as hosts on the network that can access or be accessed by other hosts on the network. Okay, so these are laptops, PCs, IP phones, and servers. Okay, so most of the time, the targets in a network are endpoints. Okay, they are the targets, the servers. Okay, they are the targets of the attackers. Okay, and then devices that remotely access networks, the VPNs, these are also endpoints that could inject malware into the VPN network from the public network. The public network here is the internet. Okay, and what is happening now, you find that malware, keeps on changing its features in less than 24 hours. Why is malware doing this? Okay. So malware is able to change the features so as to evade detection. So we have complicated malware now. Okay, which is able to change its features. So the thing is, we have anti-malware, which has a database of certain features, So these threat actors now, they're coming up with malware which is able to change the features through a process called metamorphosis. Okay, now, you know what metamorphosis is, where we have the caterpillar and then we have the butterfly. So meaning here, malware is able to change totally the feature. So of late, we have had an increase in the number of malware. So what we have here, what is being shown is, malicious spam percentage. So, spam, this is unwanted emails, but you find that they can also be malicious. So you can see in 2015, this was the percentage level for malware. So 2016 was here, but you can see that the level of malicious spam has been increasing. Okay, endpoint security. So this is representing a local area network. And a local area network, one has endpoints, which are these devices that you see, endpoints, and then also the network infrastructure, the switches, the routers, and so on. Okay, so this can be your organization, all right? And you can have the intrusion prevention system to detect and prevent malicious traffic which is coming from the internet to enter your organization. You can also implement AAA. So we have AAA here to find out what is happening. So anything that is happening in your organization is sent to AAA. Okay. Then we can also have the firewall here. Okay. So you see, having the ASA firewall. So this is the Cisco firewall. And of course, we have VPN here. So with this VPN here, we can be able to connect, branches through VPN. We can also be able to connect teleworkers. These are people who are working at home through VPN. Okay. Apart from that, we can have anti-malware on these devices running. Okay. We can also have the email security appliance. So the email security appliance, this is a Cisco device, okay, which filters the emails which are coming into your organization and also the emails which are going out. Okay. We have the web security appliance, which prevents, the users in your organization from visiting malicious websites. Okay. So this arrangement here is what we call defense in depth. That is having the layers of defense. Very, very important that, in order to protect your organization, you don't just rely on a single technique. You have to use a number of techniques. So on the end device there, you can have what are known as host-based malware protection. Okay, so this is anti-malware or antivirus. So the thing is, we are used to saying antivirus, but in fact, the systems that we're having now are anti-malware because they protect the systems not only from viruses, but also from the worm, okay, spyware, okay, ransomware, and so on. Okay, so the host-based anti-malware is the one that is being installed, on the end devices. Okay, all right. So antivirus or anti-malware, this is the software that is installed on the host to detect and mitigate viruses and malware. So for example, Windows Defender. So this is the one which comes with your operating system, Windows, and this is very, very good. It was analyzed by the company which is based in Germany, which is responsible of analyzing the antivirus, and Windows Defender, of course, performed very, very well. So that company is the AV, a German-based company. Okay. Windows Defender performed just like Kaspersky. Cisco has the Cisco AMP. Norton, this is also very, very good. Okay. McAfee, Trend Micro, and others. Okay. But I would recommend, on your personal, device, at least Windows Defender, which is free of charge, but for the organization, I would recommend Kaspersky and Norton. These are very, very big. These are very, very good. Now, the anti-malware uses 3 ways of how to detect malware. The first one is signature-based. So the signature-based, this recognizes various characteristics of a known malware file. So what happens here is that the manufacturers of antiviruses, they will come up with a signature of a virus, okay? And what antivirus or anti-malware has is a database of signatures of well-known viruses. Now, let's say if this anti-malware is only using signatures to detect, malware, and of course, if we have a new malware, then it won't be able to detect that. So those are the challenges of antiviruses that are using only signatures. But we have the heuristic-based. So this one recognizes general features of the virus, okay, or malware, okay? But, these companies went further to include behavior-based, okay? So this one employs analysis of suspicious behavior. So when we use heuristic and behavioral-based, these are able to detect new or unknown malware or viruses, okay? So if there is this file that is on behavior-based, if there's this file which is trying to switch off the antivirus or which is trying to switch off the firewall, then from there, the software will be able to recognize that this is a virus or malware. Why is it trying to switch off the antivirus? Or why is it trying to switch off the firewall? Okay. Then we also have host-based firewalls. Okay, this is what Windows has. Okay, so the purpose of this firewall is to filter the traffic which is coming into your laptop. Okay. Windows has Windows Defender firewall with advanced settings, which is a firewall itself. Okay. What we have, of course, now are known as host-based security suites, because they have not only antivirus, but anti-phishing, safe browsing, host-based intrusion prevention system, and firewall capabilities, okay? So they have a number of systems within them, okay? I talked about the AV test, all right? So there's no way for you to start Googling saying which is the best antivirus. You're going to get wrong results. What you need to do is to go to the AV test website. So this is a German-based company. They don't favor any antiviruses. They don't favor. So you find that maybe after a year or so, they normally release how different antiviruses do perform in terms of how fast are they to detect viruses, right? The impact of the antivirus when it's working on your machine, they look at that. And when I was checking the results, which these guys released, you find that some of the antiviruses that are there are really not working at all. They're not able to detect the viruses. Okay. Then we have network-based malware protection. So this is very, very important. Apart from having host-based malware protection, you can have also network-based malware protection. Okay. Right. So CISCO do have what is known as, they have the CISCO AMP, okay, which it can be included on the standalone firewall. A standalone firewall is a network-based firewall. Okay, so inside there, we can have the CISCO AMP, which will be able to prevent malware from entering into your organization. So what you must have next generation firewalls. So these are firewalls which are able even to identify the application, okay, or who is using this application and so on. You must also have intrusion prevention system. Very, very important also network access control. That is, before someone accesses any device in your organization, it has first of all to be authenticated, okay? Gateway security, as well as endpoint security, okay? Very, very important that you combine all these. That is when your organization is going to be safe. Okay, so we have the advanced malware protection, which is the CISCO AMP, which protect your organization from malware and viruses. And then we have the email security appliance, okay, which protects your organization from spam and other malicious emails. And then we have the web security appliance. Of course, this web security appliance has a database, or what is known as a blacklist. So in that database, we have a list of blacklisted websites. So these are malicious websites. So if any worker in your organization wants to access a particular website, that information is sent to the web security appliance. Okay, so the web security appliance has to check for that web address to find out whether it's in its database. If it is, then that individual won't be allowed access to that website. So we also have the network admission control. So this is what you must have. This is the device which allows people to connect to your network, okay? So according to their credentials, they're going either to be allowed or to be denied access. Okay. Section 2 deals with host-based intrusion prevention systems. So apart from having network-based intrusion prevention system, we also have host-based intrusion protection system. So these, they have to be on the hosts, on each and every host. Okay. All right. So with firewalls, of course, we have network-based firewall as well as host-based firewalls. Okay. So these are examples of host-based firewalls. So Windows comes with the Windows Defender firewall. Okay, and then Linux uses what are known as the IP tables. Okay, but we have the successor to the IP table, which is the NF tables. Okay, so Linux uses the NF table as the host-based firewall. And then we also have the TCP wrappers. So this is a rule-based access control and logging system, which is used in Linux systems. Okay, all right, so with host-based, so you can see, apart from having host-based intrusion prevention system, we also have host-based intrusion detection systems. Okay, all right. Now, they are able to protect against known and unknown attacks. Okay, so the job of the HIDS is, of course, to do a detailed monitoring and reporting what is happening on the system. And of course, these, they have to be installed on each and every device. Okay. All right. So as I said, you find that malware nowadays do exhibit what is known as polymorphism. Okay. That is the changing of features. Malware is doing that to avoid being detected. All right. Now, to overcome polymorphism, to the HIDS was added what is known as anomaly-based detection. Okay. So with anomaly-based detection here, the system is going to learn, and whatever the system is going to learn, that will be put in a database. So we're going to have what is known as a learned baseline model of normal behavior. So if immediately we do have abnormal behavior, then we'll be able to know that there is a problem here. There is an intrusion. Okay. And then also we have policy-based. Okay. So this one is based on the rules. Okay. So we're going to have certain rules. If those rules are violated, then we must know that here there is a problem. Okay. So some of the products, that is the HIDS products that are there, we have the CISCO AMP, Alien Velt, Tripwire, and OSSEC. So these are examples of host-based intrusion detection systems that you can use in your organization. Okay. Section 3 deals with application security. Okay. Now, the attack surface, what is this? The attack surface normally is the total number of vulnerabilities in a system. Okay. And these vulnerabilities can be categorized as network attack surface. So these are the attack surfaces that we have on a network. Okay. Software attack surface, these are attack surfaces related to software. Okay. Human attack surface, these are attack surfaces related to, the exploits that can be done on humans. Okay. Right. Then we can also have what is known as application blacklisting and whitelisting. Okay. Application blacklisting, here we're going to have the applications that are not allowed to run in your organization. And then application whitelisting, we're going to have a list of applications that are going to be allowed in your organization. Okay. Sandboxing. Okay, so with sandboxing, this is where we can run malware. So this is a safe environment in which we can run malware and analyze how it behaves. Okay, and there are different types of sandboxes out there. Okay, so Antivirus Total is one of the examples of a sandbox. Okay, so a sandbox is an environment where we can run malware. Okay, okay, so that is that on endpoint protection. Do you have questions here? Just a minute, let me just close the window. Mosquitoes are entering. Okay, so do you have questions on this important topic? If not, we are
maybe just a quick one. I wanted to actually so what can be done actually to mitigate the malware?
all right, like what you have seen, okay, you must protect the end devices,
okay,
by putting there anti-malware, you know. But apart from putting anti-malware, you can also put what is known as the host-based intrusion detection system. Now, the thing is that the host-based intrusion detection systems, they are able to detect and prevent an attack, while the network-based intrusion detection systems, they are there just to detect an attack. Okay, so apart from having that, you can also have the network-based, okay, anti-malware. All right. So the network-based anti-malware, any traffic which is entering your organization with malware, it will be detected and blocked. Okay? So as I said, you have to use a number of techniques, in order to protect your organization, what we have just looked at.
all right, okay.
Do we have some more questions? Module 23, endpoint vulnerability assessment. How do we assess vulnerability? But before that, we need to look at network and server profiling. So network profiling is all about knowing the normal behavior of your network, okay? Such that when you do have an abnormal behavior, then you must know that there's something wrong here, okay? Server profiling is learning also the normal behavior of a server, such that when you do have an abnormal behavior, then you must know that there's something going on our servers. Okay, so how do you learn the normal behavior of your network? You have to look at what is known as session duration, which is the average time between the establishment of a data flow and its termination. Okay, you must know total throughput. What is total throughput? Okay, so this is the average amount of data passing from a given source to a given destination over a certain period of time. Okay, then you also need to know the critical asset address space. Very, very important to know the IP addresses that have been assigned to the critical assets that you have. Okay, okay, and then typical traffic type. Okay, so you have to know what are some of the TCP and UDP processes that are available on a system. That is to know the ports that are running. Server profiling. Okay, so here you have to come up with the what? The acceptable what? Operation state of the server. By knowing the listening ports that are open, who is logged in, and which account is he using? What are some of the services that are running on the server? The software environment. So you must be aware of this, so that when you see the unknown service, then you must know that there's something wrong here. Okay, unknown port listening, then you must know that there's something wrong here. It might be that you have malware on the servers, and that malware is using that particular strange port to communicate with the threat actors. Okay. Network anomaly detection. So as I said, of course, network behavior is described by a large amount of diverse data, such as the feature of packet flows, features of packets themselves, okay, telemetry from multiple sources. So with network anomaly detection nowadays, they normally use big data, techniques. So big data is all about, getting the sense from a large amount of data. So these techniques, they use a large amount of data, and from that, they can be able to know or to detect variations in the data. Okay, they can be able to detect anomalies in the data. Okay, so of course, some of the algorithms that are used. Okay, so we can have the router, the border router, and then you say every X minute. So here we have to count the number of flows. We can say if we are going to get, let's say, more than 500 flows, then you have to send an alarm. If it is less, then you don't have to get any alarm. So it might be that if we have 500 flows, then that means data exfiltration. It means that the hackers are stealing a large amount of data from your organization. Okay. Network vulnerability testing. This is very, very important. So this can be done through what is known as a risk analysis, or through vulnerability assessment, or through a pen test. Okay. Risk analysis, of course, here you can involve individuals who are going to do a comprehensive analysis, okay, of impacts of attack on the assets of your organization. So this can be done internally or externally by using the consultants. Okay. Vulnerability assessment, this can be done through patch management, host scanning, port scanning. Trying to look for vulnerabilities, and the tools that you can use for vulnerability assessment are OpenVAS, Microsoft Baseline, Analyzer, Narcissus, okay, Queries, or Nmap. These are the tools that you can use. Okay. Penetration testing, these are ethical hackers or white hat hackers. So, of course, they use hacking tools. They hack your organization to find out what are some of the vulnerabilities that you have. And they use tools such as Metasploit, the core impact, okay, ethical hackers or pen testers themselves anyway. Okay, so in terms of coming up with these vulnerabilities, we can also use a tool called Common Vulnerability Scoring System. Okay, right. This CVSS is maintained by an organization called FIRST. Okay. Very, very important that you get familiar with the CVSS. So what the CVSS has, it has what is known as the base metric group. Okay, so this represents the vulnerabilities that are not changing over a period of time. Okay, and then we have the temporal metric group. Of course, this represents the vulnerabilities that may change over time. And it may change due to the fact that you know, some companies, they have released some patches and so on. And then we have the environmental metric group. Okay, so this deals with a certain vulnerabilities according to a particular environment. Okay, maybe we have this vulnerability, and because we're in this particular environment, that vulnerability will be less. It won't be more. Okay, now when we look at you know, this base metric group, it is divided into two metrics. Okay, the exploitability metric and the impact metric. Okay, so with the exploitability metric, we have what is known as the attack vector. The attack vector, it deals with how far is the attacker to the system so that his attack is going to be successful. So if the attacker is very far, chances are high that his attack will be successful. But if maybe this attacker is an insider threat, then chances are high that his attack won't be successful. Okay? And then we have attack complexity. Attack complexity deals with what components are there, you know, what software is there, you know, what hardware is there for the attack to be successful. Okay? And then privileges required. Okay? What privileges are supposed to be there for the attack to be successful? Okay? And then user interaction, you know, how much of the interaction is required for the attack to be successful. Okay? And then the scope deals with what is known as the authorities. How much of the authorities? Okay, so here when we talk about the authorities, we're looking at the database and others. You know, how much are supposed to be there for the attack to be successful. And then the impact metric, of course, what will be affected? Is it going to be confidentiality? Is it going to be integrity? Or is it going to be availability? Okay, all right. And then the temporal metric group deals with the exploit code maturity, remediation levels, and what is known as the report confidence. Environmental metric group, this is where we have the modified base metric, and then confidentiality requirement, integrity requirement, and availability requirement. Okay, so I did explain about these already. Now, the CVSS, it has the calculator which it uses to come up with the score of the vulnerability. Okay, so remember, we have the attack vector. Okay, so here we have the network, or is it adjacent, or is it a local network, or is it physical? Attack complexity, is it high or low? Privileges required, none, is it low or high? User interaction, remember, none required. Okay. Now, after you have key in, you know, the parameters, of course, this has to be done by the experts, you know, the people with knowledge who can be able to determine, you know, the attack vector. They can also be able to determine the attack complexity using their knowledge. Okay. And then, of course, what will be generated will be a value, okay? You know, will be the value, which is going to say that the vulnerability is low, the vulnerability is medium, and the vulnerability is high. So these are the scores. So after keying the parameters, if what you're going to get is 0, that will indicate that there is no vulnerability. If the number falls, between this range, it means that the vulnerability is low. Between this range, medium, this range, the vulnerability is high, or the vulnerability is critical. So that is what the calculator does. Okay. So apart from the CVSS, what is there also is common vulnerability and exposures. Very, very important. The purpose of CVE is to share the vulnerabilities, okay? So very, very important that the information about the vulnerability is quickly shared, how to deal with that vulnerability and so on, okay? So in the US, they have the CVE. They also have the National Vulnerability Database, okay? So this is going to give you detailed, that is more detailed information about the vulnerability, okay? Secure device management. So when securing the devices, you don't just secure them just like that. You need to do risk management, okay? So risk management involves selecting, specifying of the security controls of an organization. So security controls, these are measures that you put in place to reduce the risks, okay? So you can avoid the risk, you can reduce the risk, you can share the risk, or you can keep the risk. I tackled, all these, okay? So of course, risk management involves one, identifying the risks through identifying the assets, vulnerabilities and the threats. Then you have to do the risk assessment, coming up with the values of the risks, okay? Risk response planning, okay? Response implementation. You have to continue monitoring and assessing the results. So this is a cycle, okay? Where you need improvement, you need to improve. Where you need new plans, you have to include those new plans, and so on, okay? All right, so for you again, secure device management also involves vulnerability management, which is also a cycle. You have to discover those vulnerabilities, okay? After you have done that, you have to prioritize the assets. Which assets need more protection, okay? Assessing, reporting, remediating the vulnerabilities, as well as verifying. So it is also a cycle. You have to make improvements where you didn't do well, in the last time. Okay. Asset management, this is very, very important, because you have to know what you are protecting. So first of all, you have to identify the assets through assets management, okay? Very, very important that that is done. You also need the mobile device management. How does it work? So the CISCO, they do have the CISCO Meraki system manager, okay, as one of the MDM system. So if you go on leave for 2 months and then you come back, you are coming back with the mobile device. That mobile device will be sent to the MDM. The MDM has to check whether your system is updated. If not, the MDM is going to update that system for you. That is how the Cisco Meraki system works. Okay? So after your system has been updated, that's when you're going to be allowed to connect to the network of your organization. Okay. All right, so secure device management also involves configuration management. Very, very important that the systems are well configured, meaning you don't have to leave those systems with the default password, the default username. Okay, all right. So we have tools such as the Puppet, Chef, Ansible, SaltStack, which you can use, to configure the devices automatically. You also need enterprise patch management. There's nothing like, just patching the systems anyhow. You need to have systems in place, okay? So patch management, of course, involves the aspects of software patching, okay? Identifying the systems that have to be patched, acquiring the patches, distributing them, installing them, and very, very important, verifying the patches before installing them. Because you find that there's some cases whereby we have a new patch, and once you have patched the devices, then you find that maybe some employees can't access the internet and so on. Okay, so we have different patching techniques. There is what is known as agent-based, meaning that on these end devices, we do install the agents, and those agents are the ones, which will be responsible for patching the end devices, okay? Or we can have what is known as agentless scanning, meaning we don't install anything on these devices, okay? The patching comes directly from the patch server. Or we can use what is known as passive network monitoring. That is, this server has to be monitoring the network, and from there, it can be able to tell which device needs patching. Okay. Section 4 deals with information security management systems. Okay. Here, the thing is that when you're trying to implement security in your organization, there are certain models that you must follow, for that security to work. Okay. So one of the models that are there is what is known as information security management system. Okay. So this is a framework which you can use to identify. Of course, you can adopt as your own to identify, analyze, and address the information security risks. It uses what is known as plan, do, check, and act cycle. So first of all, you need planning. Then you have to do what you have planned. You have to check whether what you have implemented is working. And then, of course, you also need to act. So this one is also a cycle, okay? All right, so of course, this is just a document telling you how you should secure your devices. Apart from that framework, you as your organization, you can also adopt ISO 27001. Okay, now you can see here on planning what you're supposed to do. You need to understand business objectives, okay? Define activity scope, okay? On do you're supposed to create and implement risk management plan. You establish and enforce risk management policies and procedures. This is where you to even train, personnel, and also allocate the resources that are required, okay? On checking here, you monitor execution, you compile reports and so forth. On act, you need to continue doing the auditing and so on, okay? Already here with the auditing, what you have implemented, what was suggested to be implemented, was it really implemented or not? Okay, that is what is known as auditing. Okay, Nist also came up with a new framework, which is the Nist cybersecurity framework. So this is a document which you can adopt as your own in your organization and follow it to protect your organization, okay? So it has these core functions, okay? Identify. So this is where you develop an organizational understanding to manage cybersecurity risks to systems, assets, data, and capabilities. Protect. This is where you develop and implement the appropriate safeguards, okay, to protect your organization. Detect. This is where you develop and implement the appropriate activities, okay, to identify the occurrence of a cybersecurity event. Respond. This is why you develop and implement the appropriate activities to act, okay, on a detected cybersecurity event. And then recover, okay. This is why you develop and implement the appropriate activities to maintain the plans for resiliency and to restore the systems to where they were. Okay, so that is that on this also very, very important topic. Do you have questions on this topic? Do you have questions on this topic? Okay, and then our last slide for today, looks at technologies and protocols. So here we are going to explain how security technologies affect security monitoring, okay? So we're going to look at, monitoring common protocols. So, of course, we can have the Syslog protocol. Why do we have this? So that we can be able to know what is happening, okay? We can also have the Ntp protocol. Why do we have this? In order for the devices that we have to be running using the same time. So you see, these two are very, very important, okay? In your field as, analysts, okay? But these are also targets of hackers. They can tamper with the Syslog so that you won't be able, to receive those messages to know what is happening. Threat actors are able to tamper with Ntp so that you can't be able to correlate the events, okay? They can also be able to use Ntp to launch DDoS attacks, Okay. So this is what we have. Okay. So you see, right. So we're looking at data exploit. Data exfiltration. They can use Ntp, to steal data from the organization. Hackers can also block, as I said, the Syslog, so that you won't be able to receive the messages. Now, to overcome some of these weaknesses which Syslog has, they came up with what is known as Syslog Next Generation, which is able to overcome some of the weaknesses that Syslog has. Okay. I've talked about Ntp. Okay. So with Ntp, we have the source of time where we normally get the correct time. But threat actors may also what? Attempt to attack what? Ntp. Why do they do that? To corrupt the time, as I said, so that you won't be able to correlate, the events, like I said. Ntp is also used to launch what? DDoS attacks. And DDoS attacks, what they do is to disrupt network availability. Okay. DNS. Okay, so you find that how do attackers use DNS? They can use DNS as a channel, okay, to communicate with what is known as the C&C servers. They can also use DNS, to steal information from your organization, okay? So when you see strange domain names, then that can be data exfiltration from your organization. Have you seen here? These are strange DNS queries, So these are the same queries which they can use to steal information from your organization. Okay. All right. We also have, the protocol HTTP and HTTPS. We know that it is not recommended to use HTTP. Always you have to use HTTPS. Okay, so of course we talked about the iframe. Okay, so make sure that you should avoid using the iframe when creating your web page. Okay, because the iframe can be used, to download malware. Okay, right. So this just explains what happens when we use HTTP secure. HTTP secure uses what is known as the SSL, okay, to encrypt and decrypt information. But of course, hackers also, they use the same, technique to encrypt information. So what you must have in your organization what you must have are decryptors, such that even though the hackers, they have used HTTPS to hide their activities, this information can be sent to the decryptors, which can be able to decrypt that information and send it to the IPS, to detect if it has malicious content. Okay. All right. So threat actors can also use Smtp. You see, when you're sending an email, Smtp is the one which is involved. So they can use Smtp to steal information. They can use either POP3 or IMAP, to bring in malware into your organization, okay? Or to use it to communicate with the C&C servers. All right. Icmp, we looked at this already. It can be used to identify what are the hosts in your organization. It can be used to come up with a map of how the devices are connected in your organization. It can be used to launch DOS attacks, okay, to steal information from your organization as well. Okay. Security technologies. All right. So what we can use ACLs. We looked at how to use ACLs. We can use ACLs to prevent certain people from doing certain activities on the internet. But we need to be careful when using these ACLs. Okay, so what we have here, this is how ACLs are implemented. We are on this router. Okay, so here, access lists 112 permit this Icmp coming from anywhere, going anywhere, and the message has to be an echo reply. Okay, so we can permit this, and then we can also deny others. Okay, but the badness with this, you find that hackers can be able to know what is allowed, and they can be able to use that against the organization. Okay. NAT and PAT. Okay. So this is network address translation. Okay. So we have NAT, because with NAT, we have what are known as the private addresses. The private addresses can be used by a number of organizations, but you can't use this private address to connect to the internet. Okay, it has to be NATed. Okay, so if we have got a situation where the hacker has used a private address to hack your organization, it will be difficult to trace the attacker, because here is the address which he used, but this address is not known on the internet. This address will be NATed to this, meaning this computer will use this IP address to go to the internet. Therefore, it will become difficult to trace who attacked your organization. Okay. Encryption, encapsulation, and tunneling. So these are some of the methods which the hackers, they use to hide their activities. Okay. And what your organization should avoid is what is known as peer-to-peer networking. So this is where, I have my laptop here and I use the cable to connect this laptop to another laptop directly. That is not good at all, because it leads to the spread of malware. And then also, your organization should avoid using TAR. Okay? TAR is a network whereby everything is encrypted. So criminals use that. Okay? So when you visit TAR, you find that your system can be infected with malware. Okay? So this just shows the good part of peer-to-peer, where you can share processor power, which scientists can be using. It's also used for instant messaging and so on, but it is not encouraged. So this is TAR. Okay, these are the routers, and everything which passes through TAR has to be encrypted. And because of that, criminals use TAR, and it is not advised that people in your organization should be using TAR, because you know, they can infect your organization with malware. Okay. Load balancing. What is load balancing? Load balancing is where, as you can see here, apart from making only this server to work, we can make both servers to work, to share the load. Okay. But you find that when load balancing is working, there are some messages which are exchanged, you know, for load balancing to work. Okay. And if you do not know those messages, you can mistake them to, you know, malicious traffic. So make sure that you know about, you know, load balancing. Okay, so that is that on this topic. Do you have questions on this very, very important topic? Now, my appeal is that I can see some people are, you know, occupied with work, but, you know, you have to continue writing the chapter exams, okay? So far what I've observed is that, you know, this group, you have been very, very slow, okay? In writing the chapter exams. Please, you have to improve, because by next week, you know, we'll be done with our, you know, lectures, as well as with our labs, but the training is going to continue. All right, so I would, appreciate. I would like to thank you that you have attended. I really appreciate. So I'll see you tomorrow, same time. Good night.